Hey guys, how's it going? It's the Crypto Analyst here, and I hope all of you guys are having a good morning, evening, wherever you guys are from. And welcome back to another Bitcoin technical analysis. And today, I want to talk about Bitcoin trying so desperately hard to break into some higher price ranges and maybe even break out to around $5,500. Now, it has been in a rising wedge for a little while now. However, with this new price forming, it kind of has contradicted this. But in the recent hours, it kind of has fallen back into this rising wedge. Now we're at this period of contradiction where people are trying to decide whether or not we're going to break upwards or whether or not we're going to break downwards. So I'm going to be breaking this down today. I hope you guys do enjoy, and if you guys do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive on into this thing, break it down, and explain what's been happening. So looking at this from a little bit more of a macro view, again, on the 4-hour here, zoomed out just a little bit. We're going to zoom out more as this goes on. But I want to highlight the first thing over here in that with this breakout, we really saw one area be very significant. And that was this area over here of where I have these arrows pointing to, the previous high now being used as support. And you can see that pretty clearly over here, seeing, well, our previous high in this range is now being used as support right here. And also it was used as support once again over here. So with this happening, it's actually a pretty cool thing, because initially what we saw is, well, okay, we had our first touch, our second touch, and what we thought was going to be our third touch over here of rejection turned out, you know, the very next 4-hour candle showed support, and then right after rejection you had support, and then of course the breakout followed. Now with this breakout following, what we saw was a new formation come into play, and that be this parallel channel that you can see. Okay, you have your top level of resistance, your bottom level of support, and with this playing out, they're really two in the same, because a rising channel and a rising wedge are both bearish formation and continuation patterns. Essentially, you now have a bear flag versus a bearish continuation pattern, and the bear flag, I would argue, is a better scenario than the rising wedge, because the rising wedge is, at least for me, it's a worse version for the bulls. And if you are a bull, you really would rather see a bear flag rather than a rising wedge, because with this bear flag, you can actually come back down and actually break up here. And all you really need to do on Bitcoin over here is to get back up into this range. And then at that point, you have such little resistance that the bulls could easily overwhelm the bears, and you could actually see a very nice breakout towards the upside. So I would say that instead of this thing just staying in this area and then breaking down, I think the fact that you have a bear flag over here is actually better, because you can bounce off the support again and go back up to resistance, or even if you come back down here to support and then you go back up to resistance, at this point, you know, what level of resistance over here is really significant? And the answer is none. You have a little bit, I guess, over in here, but like for the most part, there isn't much stopping you from being at the top of an ascending triangle, and above this ascending triangle, there's like really nothing stopping you anywhere in this range. So I think that the higher that this gets, the less resistance it will have, of course. But more importantly, really all it needs to do is get up to that point initially, and then I think it can really set itself up for a breakout there, because you could have anything really happen, news or FOMO or a sudden impulse of buyers. I think really getting up to these higher ranges is going to be the important thing for Bitcoin. Now, I think as long as we hold this area, I think we're in an okay range, even as long as we come back and touch support. And if we do, again, I'm really not that worried. I've been telling my Patreons, you know, maybe, I actually was thinking, you know, over here, if this was a rising wedge, I said, you know, in the short term, I am actually a little bit bearish. You know, recently we did have this new spike in price transaction of Bitcoin, but in the overall, I've always said, you know, I've been saying that, again, I am very bullish in this. You have a lot of bullish sentiment. You have great support over here. And in the overall, I do expect this to break towards the upside. The macro of Bitcoin right now is something that is very bullish for me, and that's what I'm, you know, I guess I want to make sure that you guys understand, and that when I do talk about shorting the short term, or I'm bearish in the short term, that is not saying that this whole thing's messed up. I'm saying, you know, you could see some price action come down here before it goes into a higher high. Now, something I do want to say is that I have not been trading this zone. Some of you guys know I did go home and see some family. You know, again, I just, with that being with a very crappy range to trade this, with the exception of a little bit of action over in here, you know, I just simply did not have time. I was away from here, and the markets just were not appealing to me. However, with Bitcoin being in this range again, what this does is it opens up my appetites to start trading Bitcoin and especially trading the altcoins. It's something that I mentioned a week or two ago that people should be, I can't really say people should be, but that I should be trading the altcoins more than I'm trading Bitcoin, because the altcoins have significantly more money to be made right now than the Bitcoin market. So when I'm looking at this, again, I am looking at the macro of Bitcoin, but the altcoins are really where the money is for the time being, because you've looked at some of these things like BNB or ENG, or I don't know, there's been countless ones. XLM's has been another one. A lot of these altcoins have just been booming. I mean, Litecoin was another one. They have just been taking off in the recent weeks. And so again, a lot of money is to be made in the altcoin market right now. And so that is why I'm here. You know, I'm here to make some money. I also love the technology and everything, but you know, at the end of the day, making money is what keeps this all going. And so if there is more money to be made in the altcoin market, that is where my eyes are turning for the time being. Now, looking over here at the MACD, I don't see too much information. You did round off at pretty much the same level of resistance as your previous high over here. Doesn't really mean too much. Your oscillators got higher, saying that your overall bullish momentum is higher in this range than it was previously, but you are rounding down over here. The one thing I am noticing, though, is that this round down doesn't look too bad. If you can tell kind of towards the end of this, this is actually sloping over here, much like we had over here in this area, which was followed by almost no bearish momentum. And I'm thinking that we get something like this over here again, and then maybe set ourselves up for a little bit more bearish divergence. Not quite sure, but for the time being, I think the macro of Bitcoin is the thing to talk about, and that it looks pretty good. Now, looking over here on our 4-hour, if we do see this thing rally back up here to a lower high, I will definitely be shorting Bitcoin. And the reason for that is that you will have essentially your higher high, your lower high, your lower high, and if this rallies back up and then goes over like this, that will be another lower high. And that will really be my area to say, okay, well, if this is forming consecutive lower swing highs, this is losing bullish momentum upon every swing high over here, and that will be my opportunity to short this. Now, again, the vice versa goes over here when this comes back down and forms a higher low. I will definitely be looking to long this because, again, the macro of this is bullish in my opinion. However, you know, for the short term being, you know, this thing's pretty neutral. It's pointing back upwards. If this thing does want to come back up over here and test resistance again, I will happily short Bitcoin at the top of resistance in a rising channel. So, but you know, really for the time being, I think the macro is looking at this and saying, okay, well, this is not too bad. Like, you know, again, you're still in a giant ascending triangle. Looking over here at our RSI, you were extremely high. This is actually one of the things that I pointed out in the Patreon, is that you are at the highest point on your stochastics, excuse me, that you have been in the last year. So the last time you really saw an area that was this high, yes, you kind of touched this area over here around September, and then you kind of touched this area around July, but the last time you were really higher than this area was not since the bull market in February of 2018. So it was around February 15th, February 14th of 2018. Your stochastics was extremely high, and the second that you saw this coming down over here and rounding off, this was telling me, all right, this thing is extremely oversold. Not to say that that sole reason is going to make it come down, but the fact that it, overbought, the fact that it was so overbought is saying, okay, you might have at least some sort of a pullback here. We did have some sort of a pullback, and now we're on the upcline again. So something just to watch over here, when your things are at like yearly highs for your stochastics, it might be just a red flag that you're going to get some sort of pullback, as we did see over here in the macro picture. Something I also mentioned on the Patreon a couple days ago is the fact that we were having double bullish divergence on our daily chart. Now this played out absolutely beautifully. Now, and this was another reason, I guess, why I wasn't trading this zone. As I previously mentioned, yes, this was double bullish divergence over here, but you were having a little bit of conflicting readings between your 4-hour and your daily chart. Of course, with the daily being more significant, but taking longer to achieve. So I'd really be curious as to how this double bullish divergence on your daily plays out. I would like to see this really have a nice spring towards the upside, maybe set us up for some nice price transaction. However, only time will tell. So we'll see. We'll have to watch the daily MACD pretty close. So this is something that I was mentioning on basically the same thing. Looking for a lower swing high on my RSI. If it does that, could present a nice shorting opportunity for me. You guys know I love shorting the bear markets, and since we're still in one, I prefer to short rather than long. I just see it as a safer option in a bear market. I'm not opposed to longing, but you know, I would say the majority of the time I do short bear markets. It's just less risky. Over here on your stochastics, same deal. Looking for a lower swing high. If we can see that, might present a decent opportunity for me to look into a short. Overall, though, guys, again, I just want to keep highlighting this because even though I say, as much as I do like talking about both the bullish and the bearish side of things, you can't really look at this, and we can go ahead and delete these arrows now that we've used them. You can't really look at this and say that the macro of cryptocurrency is bad over here. You're having higher lows, testing the same level of relative resistance over here, giving me the idea that this isn't just a giant ascending triangle. Maybe it gets contradicted, maybe, maybe not, but for the most part over here, I think that the overall macro of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is just booming right now. Yes, you might see some pullback, and this is something that, people are going to go, oh, well, you said the macro is bullish, and something like this could very easily happen, and we go back down to support around, like, say we drop $400 to support. People would be like, oh, well, you're an idiot, what kind of macro is that? If it falls $400 to support and does something like this, like, that would be a phenomenal long opportunity for me. Something that I would easily take because, again, you're at the support of an ascending triangle with pretty established support. And so what that would tell me is that we're probably going to do something like this. But, again, that's where stop losses play in. If this thing does break down, I would definitely long this area, keep a stop loss right under here just in case it doesn't work out, and, risk versus reward. And something that I'm definitely looking into, again, because I believe that if this ascending triangle breaks, we're heading right back up to around $5,500. Anywhere in this range, and then possibly even higher towards the bottom of what was previously support of this giant descending triangle, maybe even to the bottom of that before seeing rejection. So yeah, that is the overall macro of Bitcoin and micro, I guess, of Bitcoin right now. My current thoughts are let's bring this back to the 4 hour. My current thoughts on Bitcoin right now is that it certainly looks pretty good. I think as long as we hold this level, I think we're in a really good area. You really need to break one more range, and that's, and that is this previous resistance range over here and your previous highs over here. Very little amount of resistance, and that's why I'm so bullish on this area. However, you need to break out of here. You really do need to see some nicer bullish momentum. Your volume's falling off again, not necessarily a good sign. But it's really dependent. If you can break these ranges, you're going to see some really nice price action in Bitcoin. And especially if we have 3 legs up here, which, traditionally you do have, maybe you can call this one your first leg right here. Maybe this can be our second one right here. And then does that just mean that we set up a bull flag scenario, which it kind of looks like we're doing, actually, setting up a bull flag on Bitcoin, and then we have our third leg up over here. Now, if we do take a third leg up, that should bring us right up to resistance, or pretty close to it. And so if that was to happen, again, that's all the question. Do we have enough momentum from that point to break out? We're going to have to wait and see. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. This is a very fun zone to be a trader and to be a part of Bitcoin. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button, as it does help out the channel a lot. But until next time, guys, I will see you in the next video.